Hi there, and welcome to another interview. Today I've got a returning guest, Connie. It was one of my most successful videos and also the most successful podcast I ever had. So I'm really looking forward to having Connie back. We're going to talk about a couple of things. One is, after all this time now being carnivore, what Connie's decided is not really true for her, which maybe she used to think worked for her. But firstly, Connie, welcome to the show. And we want to talk a little bit, for those that haven't heard about you, what your successes were.
Thank you, Stephen. It's good to be back. Aloha from Hawaii. The sun has just risen over the West Maui Mountains. It's going to be another beautiful day. Successes. First of all, I want to say right off the bat, we're going on about 4 years. 1 year first was keto. I took the easy slide in. I started keto. And over time, it started to be like, well, I like vegetables. There was nothing wrong with vegetables. I missed my pasta, but I was living without it. And slowly we started taking them out. And then what flipped that switch for us was when we did the BBBE challenge with Dr. Berry, the beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. And if I didn't say it, you don't eat it. We did that for a month, and it was remarkable. One, the body composition changed. I saw because I was close to my goal, very close to my goal weight at that point. And I've still lost like 11 inches in 1 month. And I wasn't trying. We weren't doing extra weight work, nothing. But we also, my husband, who has to go along for the ride for all of these things, said that both of us, we never felt better in our lives. And it was like, oh, the lights went on. Even though, again, I'm a chemical engineer, and I'm sorry, I have rescue cats who have just finally found their toy. Even though, the light went on, I knew we didn't need a lot of carbs. I knew that as used to being a medical laboratory technologist also, but it doesn't click because, how many years? I'm 65 plus years old, and I'm sorry, let me grab cat. Oh, thank you so much. But I didn't get it. It didn't sink in that it means you don't need any. And that's usually like last night we were out with people and they just were looking at my steak and eggs going, what, nothing, So, but that did it. We got to the end and went, And then about a month later, we had Thanksgiving and I made the cauliflower mash that I usually make. It's delicious, but boy, an hour later, we're all bloated and miserable. And everybody likes to blame the turkey. Yeah, sure. No, it was the cauliflower. Next day we had the same meal minus the cauliflower. Life is good. So at that point we flipped into carnivore. Can you still have your vegetables? Yes. And by the way, right off the top, please to everybody, if you're doing something that's working for you, stay there until it doesn't work for you anymore. Okay? Stay there. Just because Connie said, whatever, it's meaningless. If it's working for you because you're an individual at a specific part in your life, and that is going to change over time. I guarantee you, which is annoying, that just when you think you have this figured out, it's going to change on you. And that's okay. Be ready for that and you have the tools, move on. But I did still lose well over, okay. Everybody always says, how much weight had you lose? It's an important part because as you lose the weight, yes, the health benefits come. Should it be your only thing you have your eye on? No, especially towards the end, because you really don't know what your goal weight is. Okay, that's one little light bulb thing that come on. You pick a number out of the air, and the BMI charts are bogus. They're not you. They're not you at this age. They're not you with this hormone. They're not you pre or post menopause. It's not going to tell you what you need to do. You have to listen to your body. And your body's going to pull up at spots and just say, okay, we're going to sit here for a while. That's okay. That's natural. You go, we're balancing out and scary. You might need to stay there. Okay. You have to be open to that. You might need to stay there for 6 months or a year. When I call a stall, I mean 3 months plus. I'm not into this. I'm in a stall for a week. No, it's a while, especially as you get towards the end. So, again, that number comes out of the air. You have to be more adjusting to where you are. But as a lot of other people have the experience, once I went over 300 pounds, and I'm an active person. Once I went over 300 pounds, I stopped getting on the scale. And then that'll go to point 2. You'll hear people say you shouldn't get on a scale. You should weigh every day. you do what's right for you. For me, I know when I don't get on the scale, it's not good news. So it doesn't matter what I ate the day before or the week before or the cruise that we took and we just got home, my butt's going on the scale because it is what it is. Again, my personal value is not judged by that number, but I need to know where I am. And then sometimes you have to, don't put yourself down. That's not helpful, but you do need to have an honest discussion with yourself about, okay, you don't like that number. Well, what did you do? Okay, what did you not do? It's okay. Let's do a little adjusting here on those two parameters and move on. That's all it is. Now, that's Connie. If you're somebody who you can't go on that scale because you'll beat yourself up forever, and don't do it. Beating yourself up is a completely waste of time. But what did I weigh before? Well, I know when I hit 300, that saw a 3 in front of that number, I stopped getting on the scale. That's me. So I'm very careful every day to get on that. So what was my most weight? I was way over 300, and I thought I had done a really good job of getting my weight down. And then I got back on the scale, and I was still mortified to see 295. Okay, so my last known weight was 295. What did I actually weigh at my peak? God knows, and it was a lot worse than that. So I've easily lost over 130 pounds. Again, it's a shot. It's a number of what I'm going for. I did a couple things that did not work for me. It worked for other people. Example, at one point in a stall, I thought I was anxious to move it along a little more. Probably, as my husband pointed out, a little more than I should have. We probably were just fine. Would I give anything right now to weigh what I weighed then when I was impatient? Oh yeah, that was a good number. But no, I pushed it. So I tried the eating force-feeding fats. Bad idea for me at that point in time. Very bad. My hormones were healed. I was no longer diabetic in 6 weeks, and I knew that. So, I mean, all these, I was taking 28 prescription medications a day at the worst state. I had kidney failure. My GFI was 14. They were putting me on a kidney donor list, and they were getting me ready to go on dialysis. I had heart surgeries. I mean, and that's just the highlights. We had all of it, high blood pressure. Just go right on down the line. And eventually I had a drug interaction between all those pills and put me in the hospital with kidney failure. I knew at that point I was no longer diabetic. What was the doctor's answer? Well, just in case, we'll keep you on the metformin. No. And see, now you have to understand, I used to begin with a background in these things. I knew, and I monitor. I'm finger pricking. I'm checking what's going on. You don't drop drugs without talking to your doctor, especially if you're not really sure this isn't your thing. But I have a stern talk with my doctors to say, do I have to take this? I don't think I do. Tell me why. Let's try a week without it. Let's try 2 weeks. Now, my hormone pills, I had to go back to the thyroid, the Armour thyroid. It was the only one I had to go back to. The rest of them all went away. 28 prescription medications a day. So when somebody tells me, oh, this diet's expensive, what did that cost? What did one stay in a hospital for a week cost? So there's no comparison. And by the way, I'll take anybody on about it's too expensive to be carnivore because we can do it really cheap. So much cheaper because we don't waste food anymore either. So again, what's happened? Health-wise, no comparison. That will never change. This is a lifestyle. It is not, I don't like the term diet. To me, diet just means what you're eating now, but for a lot of people, diet means this is how I'm going to eat until I get into that size dress, or this is how I'm going to eat until I go to this party or this reunion. It's not a diet. This is forever. You're just going to do it. It's not a thought. Yes, are you going to maybe take a mini vacation, planned or not? Maybe over 4 years, yeah, but it's not open-ended. I'm going to this party, or I'm going my daughter's wedding. Yes, I'm going to have a piece of her wedding cake. But then it's not the next day. It's not the next week. So you pull up. So a couple things I found out to not be true. So I force-fed myself this butter, and I put on 35 pounds like in a month. I couldn't believe it. And everybody's saying, don't worry about it. It'll come off when you heal. Well, maybe if I wasn't already healed, that might have happened. That it didn't come off, and I stopped. I went, no, this is crazy. It took me months to lose this. It took me a month to put it back on. And by the way, that's the other thing you'll see. And you can't, you just have to accept it. There's some things you accept with love and with God. And one of them is it's going to take a long time to shake some of this off, and it's going to take no time to put it back on when you do not what's best in your best interest. So that's another thing that I learned. But health, healing, there's no question. I walk now. I'm getting older. I'm in my higher 60s. I started running 5 miles a day when I was losing the weight. Couldn't have thought of trying to do that before, but my hip does not agree with that kind of pounding, especially since I'm in Kapalua here in Maui. So I'm on the side of a volcano. So everything is either very hard up or very hard down, and the down is not a thing for my hip. So now I power walk a minimum of 3 miles a day. So, but that's my happy place. I mean, I get out there, it's drop dead gorgeous. I see neighboring islands, the trees, the jungles. It's just gorgeous. I get into my little zone. I have my earphones on. I like it. I actually miss it. I can't wait. As soon as we're done with this call, I'm out there. So, but that's me. So you have to find, again, another pearl. You have to find what you like, because you're not going to keep it up if you don't like it. You're just not. It's going to be miserable, and you certainly don't look forward to it. And there's some things I just don't look forward to. So, but I do that. So, and I can swim distance. I can swim for hours at a time. That's just my background. And we have a pool, a lap pool here that we belong to in our club. So I do that. So find what you like, whatever it is. If it's a slow stroll, that's better than nothing. And if you like it, you'll keep it up and you'll go a little longer. It just naturally happens. Find what works for you. So yeah, I dropped all this weight. Some weight came back on. This is miserable to shake this part off. It doesn't get any easier as you get older. That's not an excuse. It's just an observation. This too shall pass, and we'll go that way. We're getting ready to go to Alaska. That's our next trip in August. And it's going to be very active. We're doing a land tour first, and then we're coming out of Fairbanks, then through Denali National Park. We're going to be hoofing and hiking it every day. We're dog sledding on glaciers. I mean, the activity, I don't know, the reason I'm saying this is to get the activity level. My husband, who's 86 now, we're out there doing very active hikes, very active activities that we wouldn't have even been able to consider, but I wouldn't have been able to consider before. So the change in lifestyle is huge. Is the number perfect? No. Is it good enough for now? And that's where you have to start getting with good enough for now, and then still keep looking. I've just stumbled on something. Yes, you can gain weight on Carnivore. Oh, shock. You'll see some people like Dr. Sean Baker, you see him eating these monster steaks. What we all saw, a lot of us who started this Carnivore at the same time, we can't eat the amount of meat at one sitting that we used to eat. When we started this, we used to eat, we'd get big monster steaks and a half at our usual date night place here. Or we'd get 2 steaks. Then we were sharing an extra steak. Now I can't get through the steak. Okay, so I had a call with Dr. Cyrus, and the discussion was I started to snack because I wasn't eating enough at that one meal. So now we put in a second smaller meal, eggs and some kind of breakfast meat in the morning, and then a piece of meat of some sort or some solid protein in the evening. But that was a complete change. Before, we could eat one monster meal in the middle of the day and we were good. That changed. So you just have to be like, there's changes, and that's okay. Just adapt to it. So again, that's it. And by the way, the reason we got cats everywhere here right now. Another thing about healing, my daughter started this about the same time. She had PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. She only had one period of a year. Doctors were okay with this. I was not. The doctors were telling her that she will probably not be able to conceive on her own, that she would need IVF. So her and her then pre-fiance were not in any hurry. They were enjoying life. They went on a Greek cruise with us last year, but she had, with a year in Carnivore, completely turned that around. to the point that we're going next month for a baby shower and a baby watch. They got married this last Christmas time, and baby's coming in sometime in July, and they're beyond delighted. So that's a complete healing from carnivore. And even with during her pregnancy, when she had trouble, she has a meat aversion, a beef aversion right now. So she's eating more chicken, and some you do what you need to do. In her case, I know this is terrible. She eats the chicken strips because she still has terrible nausea, terrible in the morning and evening. But if she eats the chicken strips with some of the breading on it, she pulls off some of the breading, but she's good. Now, is that infinitely better than sitting down with cinnamon rolls? No doubt. So this is what I mean too. Perfection, that's God's land. Leave it alone. Go for the best you can do right now, at this moment, with what I'm faced with. What's the best choice? What's the best? Because it is a choice. You're choosing. But what is the best choice for me at this moment? And it won't be the same choice tomorrow, and it won't be the same choice in a year from now. So that's, but this diet of eating carnivore, or even eating keto, eating mostly carnivore with some veg thrown in there, is life-changing. It's still life-changing. 4 years later, it's amazing. We've seen it for people who've seen it in us, and so they start copying it. It does go back if you change your lifestyle, if you decide you're not going to do it. And unfortunately, our hometown is Lahaina, Maui, and that is the town that completely burnt to the ground, and it's still completely burnt to the ground. They're still just clearing some of the sites, but it's like 2,500 families are homeless. And besides all, our town is gone. But we have three of the gentlemen that work for our HOA lost everything. All they had was the clothes on their backs. We had to give them some more uniforms just so they had some clothes for that week. One of the gentlemen was so severely sick before gout, diabetes, heart surgeries. We got him on first keto. So again, everybody, you don't have to be carnivore. He was keto. But to say to Filipinos, you're not eating rice, and you can tell they're Americanized Filipinos because they were more upset about not eating potatoes, which I thought was funny. But that was, and he did it, and the change in him was miraculous. I mean, I didn't even recognize him from the back. And people would say to me, oh my God, what did you tell him? Because he's a different man. Unfortunately, with losing his home and everything, that you have many families living in one small house, one little tropical house. And what are they eating? He's eating whatever they make, which is their traditional meal. It's just meal. So it's come back. And so has all the diseases. So you have to get to the point where you just go, okay, I need to correct. And that's the other thing. You may blow this completely out of the water, but you did it and you chose it and you know what you did. Because in this one, that's the miracle. You know that the basics, this is not an elaborate, if I eat bread in the morning, then I'd have to eat so many grams of protein in the afternoon. No, you know where the problem was already in the day. It was eating the bread in the morning. It's really, it's not hard. There's nothing hard in this. If all else fails, we get home late. I'm making scrambled eggs and bacon. Okay. And there we go. It's really not hard, and it's really not expensive. So you're going to learn pearls as you go, but it's been life-changing. It will not change. We're going to stay as active as we can, as long as we can. And that's the miracle.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And this is why you were such a popular guest, because I don't have to say anything. It's fabulous.
I'm sorry, I did that.
Oh, that's fab. That's absolutely amazing. And that's the whole point. It's not about me. It's about your journey and what you think. And that, I'm open-minded to everything. Just to recap there, I mean, you snuck in some things which are really amazing. You said in 6 weeks you'd got rid of diabetes, you'd lost about 120 pounds worth of fat, you were down from 28 prescription pills to 1. Your EGFR was 14, and I think if I remember from the first interview, it went up to over 100. And
I'm a teenager. My kidneys are that of a teenager. My husband at 86, is actually, his numbers are improving, which is, again, unheard of for older men. You're supposed to, older people are supposed to go lower every day or every year, and he's actually going the other direction.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to get Richard back on as well, actually. But the biggest thing that you said there, which is really interesting, is because I had an argument with someone on Instagram who said flatly, you cannot reverse PCOS. And I said, I've got to tell a fair few people that their bodies don't understand what you've just said because they have reversed it. And here you are. You've got your daughter. She had it. She couldn't conceive. She went carnivore. It reversed PCOS and she was just now pregnant. So it's great. And I think that's...
Keep up your birth control if you don't want to have babies. Just saying, you may have dropped it because you thought, oh, this is useless. Well, yeah, not so much.
And I think the one big meal, 1 meal a day is very successful for a lot of people, but things change. And I just want to mention something. When we spoke before, you mentioned you were on Dr. Berry's show. I've got him coming on next week onto my channel to talk about his diabetes, American Diabetes Society, because he's setting up a thing to combat the misinformation from the American Diabetes Association. And I will mention you when I speak to him because, and I'll do it on behalf of many people that have thanked him for really helping in the journey.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's people like you with the real stories, and it's people like Ken who have got the big following that can spread this word out. Yes, I would like to talk about what happened on your island, but that will get me shut down on YouTube, sadly.
Yeah, don't go there. Yeah.
No, I will not go there.
It's not good.
It's not. And I think that's interesting that, you've been very careful to say this works for you, but it might not work for, it's worked for you as a person, but it might not work for somebody else. And I think you mentioned BMI is bogus. I agree with you there because by BMI, I've always been overweight according to BMI. But if you have any extra muscle, you completely skewer it. If people want to know a better alternative, hip to waist ratio is the way to go. All you need is a tape measure.
How do you feel? How do your clothes feel? And by the way, that's a better reading than the scale because during some of my bigger plateaus, and I mean bigger, I'm talking months. All of a sudden, I'm still noticing that, well, wait a minute, these shorts I haven't had on in a month, they're really too big to wear out. Well, what is that? But scale is showing that nothing's changed. Well, obviously something big is changing. So what you have to do is shake the numbers. It's a guideline. It's giving you, it's one data point. Is it an important data point? Yeah, if you're suddenly gained 50 pounds or 35 that I did, well, that's a signal that, wow, Connie, something's not going right for you. But it may be just completely fine for somebody else. If you're trying to heal autoimmune, if you're trying to heal hormonal issues, yeah, that's an important thing for you. It's not an issue for me anymore. All those things are, again, a 67-year-old woman here, and the doctors are like, you're taking Armour thyroid. That's it. And they keep asking me. The nurses keep coming back in going, we need to update your drug chart. It only shows. I'm like, yeah, that's it. And same thing for Richard. And they're like, wow, this is not the norm. And especially on the island of Hawaii, it's not the norm.
Yeah. And partly is, like you say, the indigenous diet is pretty carbohydrate based. I get the same. I'm 60. I don't have any meds. I haven't had meds for as long as I can remember, over a decade. And strangely enough, that's since I went low carb. Coincidence? No, I don't think.
No, it's worth doing it, but also don't let people try to say, oh, this is more expensive, because that's not true at all. If it's okay, or if you think your people will be interested, I'll say really quickly how we shop. Bless them. Our Costco did not burn down. Praise the Lord. So, but it's an hour one way to get there, but it's there. And so, as a carnivore, and again, if you want to throw some veg in, some of the low carb veg, go for it. By the way, I also found out on my own that it was the fructose in the sugar part. So fruit will set off my atrial fibrillation. So AFib goes crazy if I get into fruits. So that's just file that away. So people are like, oh, healthy fruit. Yeah, just be aware. It's a sugar. And it goes into the sugar list when you're trying to figure out what you're going to do. Using a product like Chronometer, I love mine. I log in it every day. If I'm not logging in it means I went and ate way too many little different kind of things. But it gives me a snapshot of what are my macros? What am I eating in a day? But how we eat, again, eggs. eggs are our thing. Costco's, we found the cheapest place for organic eggs. You get the best eggs you can get. My daughter on the mainland at her Costco, they have pasture eggs. Well, we don't have that, but that's like heaven. But eggs, and they're cheap, guys. You can eat a ton of eggs and they're cheap. And obviously we're eating the yolks because that's the best part of the eggs. Then we get primals in the meats. And a primal is the whole piece of the ribeye, or the whole piece of the strip loin, or the whole piece of the tenderloin. We used to live on a lot of ribeye. So I have found lately that I actually feel and do a little better on some of the strip steaks, the strip loins. Things will change. I stopped smearing butter all over my steaks. That's because I realized that force feeding the butter was not good for me. Richard still does it happily. But you get the strip loins, you cut them yourself, and the pieces I cut off, the extra, I just have a little grinder that sticks at the end of my mixer, and I grind up that ground beef, and I add it to other ground beef, so I get a little fattier ground beef, but it's delicious. Very reasonably priced. You can either get choice, or we get Richard and Mr. Prime. He's a little fussier, but you can still go with regular. You can get ground beef. I can tell you 50 different recipes to do with ground beef. Cautionary tale. I said that you can still gain weight on carnivore, especially if you're eating dairy, especially if you're eating cheese. Okay, I like my cheese. I don't eat cubes of cheese, but boy, I like to melt cheese all over everything. I like to make Alfredo sauces to pour all over chicken. It's cheese. And my suspicion at this moment is that I may love it, but it may not love me. And that's my current right now. At this very moment, I've come up with the decision that, okay, I got to beat on that. But you go, whatever's on sale that week, I always go by. There's usually a section in the grocery store at the end of a counter where it's the manager's specials for that week. I'm cruising by that all the time, and whatever is in there, it's meat, I put it in vacuum seal bags, I freeze it, and then there's no waste. I mean, there's literally no waste. We used to throw out so much food, so much vegetables, so much fruit, because it had gotten bad, and there's nothing food-wise. I mean, some little scraps off the meat, but that's about it. So again, cost-wise, we're spending much less, and we're getting a much higher grade of food across the board. Actually, much higher grade of food. One ingredient foods, it's either got beef or chicken or pork in it, or it's got eggs. It's really easy. The heavy cream, and you got to watch that. Obviously, no milk. I'm going to assume everybody here understands the concept of lactose in milk, and that's a no-go. But the heavy cream can slide in there. And for me, for Connie, I know there's people who could probably throw cream on everything. My system, it will just not lose weight if I'm eating too much dairy. That's me. So I'm sorry. So I just want to say that don't even try to give me it's too expensive. Have you seen what a head of organic broccoli goes for these days? Okay. So no, this is actually cheaper, and I can freeze it all. I can get whenever's on sale and pound it down, throw it in the freezers. We have chest freezers hidden all over our condo. And don't tell me you live in an apartment and therefore you can't do it. We have one chest freezer hidden in our carport, and I have another one literally right here on my patio covered under a black cover. And everybody just thinks it's a grill, but it's our freezer, another freezer. So yeah, get it on sale, throw it out in your freezers. Doesn't go bad. You always have food on hand. There's no excuse that we're out of fill in the blank. And eggs, you get as many. I mean, we buy stacks of the Costco containers of eggs when we go in there. So I'm sorry. So I just want to get that out there too. So no excuse on that line.
No, and I think that's one of the things that many people have the misconception about, that it's really expensive. I have that constantly on my channel, especially when I do what I eat in a day. People say, oh, you must be very rich. And then I'm saying, no, because I eat everything. I don't throw stuff away. There's not fruit and veg rotting in the bowl.
Yes.
Veg is expensive. I don't have any fancy stuff. There's less you can.
It is expensive. Being sick, prescription drugs, being in the hospital, having to go to the doctors. Besides being a nuisance, it's expensive. It's really expensive, and also too. And I mean drugs. Everybody thinks pharmaceuticals. I mean, they're just the drugs we used to have, over-the-counter drugs in our medicine cabinet for everything. I haven't had a headache, though, by the way.
Yeah.
That's a kitten, by the way. He's a big. But the all the over-the-counter stuff that we used to have to buy, that prices, you can make this work. And I know people right now who are living on ground beef, okay, because that's all they can do, and they get it on sale, and it's you can be really hard pressed to go cheaper than that. And by the way, it's much cheaper to eat in than it is to eat out on anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you can get carnivore out almost anywhere. But you just have a talk with your waiter and your waitress and tell them, just say, I'm sensitive to processed seed oils. Even if they don't even understand what you're saying, look, I need just some ground beef patties, and you have some eggs. Oh, that would be really nice. And cheese. I have to get over that. On the thing, some okay, so a little bit of sour cream, maybe some bacon crumbles. We're good. We're good. And you just have to talk with them. Our favorite restaurant here is one of the best restaurants in Maui. We go every Friday night for date night. And over the time, they've gotten used to us we get the ribeye steaks. And we got rid of the mashed potatoes and the asparagus for a while during the BBBE. And I just asked them, I know that they do breakfast. Can you do eggs instead? And they're like, sure. And still to this day, they know us. We don't even order. It's going to be a ribeye steak and three eggs over easy. And that's our happiness place. And that's 100% carnivore.
Yeah. And I think I'm going to say something just to add from my perspective. This shirt I'm wearing, you see, now this is 10 years old. And this only came to light because this weekend I'm going to a wedding and I got a new suit. Now, that's not because I can't wear my old suits. It's because on this way of eating, you don't have to keep buying clothes that are bigger and bigger and bigger. You can fit in the same clothes. Once you've got to the weight you want to be, it's pretty stable after that. And I think that is an unknown or unmentioned cost as well, that you're saving. You don't have to keep buying clothes. You don't have to have so many kitchen utensils. You don't have so much hassle in the kitchen. It's much easier to cook, so you're not having things in the oven for a long time or on the stove. It's just brilliant. Anyway, that's been fantastic. 35 minutes. That's really good. I want to say, Connie, you and Richard, two of my favourite people that I've coached, and it was really nice to meet you the first time round. I'm glad that the exercises helped Richard, by the way, all those years ago. Is there anything you want to finish with? Do you feel that you've not covered something?
I would just say, first of all, you just don't get discouraged. I mean, I think what happens is a lot of us, there's not just a carbohydrate addict, there's a food addict. And you can overeat with any food. You can overeat with carnivore food. Right now, I just started fasting today. I still do my fasting cycles as breaks. They are hard breaks. I actually look forward to them and I feel better during them. If you're staying in this kind of diet, it's not hard. I mean, you're already in ketosis. If you've got fat on your body, you're carrying a buffet around with you at all times. I still run. I still do all my activities. Nothing changes. Generally, they're 3 days during the week. This one, we're getting ready to go somewhere on a trip again. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me if we get around eating Thursday or if we don't. If we don't, Friday's the hard stop. But I hear people who get really discouraged. And you know what? You're going to have ups and downs. I guarantee you, if you start this diet, you will not be perfect to the day you die. You may hear that there's somebody that is, and that's probably because they have to for a health reason. But if you're not, oh God, you had a slice of cake at your daughter's wedding. Boo-hoo. No, I mean, let it go. Let it go. Choose your battles. If I just said cheese is not good for me, but I really truly can't live without cheese, then I have to just say, okay, well then maybe this is the weight I'm going to be if I'm going to eat cheese, and I have to be okay with that. So don't get discouraged. It's going to be you. You're going to have to change. Don't go crazy. Don't go, okay, I'm going to eat 50 pounds of fat, or I'm going to eat no fat, or no, don't go crazy. Don't go to extremes, but just be honest with yourself. Have fun. Have fun. Because again, this is a challenge. This has been a life challenge for me. I was anorexic when I was younger. I was in ballet and never had a healthy relationship with food. And so to find something where it's working, it's going to be a work in progress forever. I'm not going to be the same as my husband. We've got different nutritional needs. I actually have to chase him around to kind of get protein into him at his age. But be kind to yourself and be kind to others. Okay. Everybody's not in the same point in the path. Don't come down like Moses from Sinai with the 10 Commandments, especially when they're coming over to your house. People accept when they come to my house that, okay, well, guess what? You're coming for brunch. We're going to have fillets. Oh, poor you, lobster tails and eggs. Okay. There won't be any Danish, and please don't bring it. But I'm at a point now, if somebody does walk in the room with Danish, have a wonderful time. I'm going to have my little meals, but just be kind with yourself and be kind with others. And if you're in a household where your spouse is not or your significant other is not on board with this, just again, be kind. They have their room, you have your room, you have your stuff in one section of the cupboard. They take their stuff to their office or something. But there's no excuse with your kids. Unless your kids can drive and have their own money and can go out and buy Oreos, I don't want to hear that I have to get this for my kids. No, you don't. They can be not happy with what you have. But you have healthy choices out there for them. But again, love and grace. Yes, they're going to go to school with their pals. Yes, they're not going to eat the best things. This phase will also pass. Just be kind to everybody, and no keto police, no carnivore police. Just do what's best for you today.